Okay, thank you, Taysom. I guess the last time a lot of the fans saw you on the field, we saw so much in Minnesota. Do you think that will potentially be what we could see this weekend and in future games, or will it kind of just be determined on a game-to-game basis? Not to give too much away, I see you smiling.
Yeah. I think every week will be a little bit different, and I think we're trying to find that balance of how much I'm going to be used, how much I'm not going to be used. So I think the coaches have done a nice job of finding different ways that we can create challenges for the defense, and I think it really becomes a week-to-week thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious, your scouting report on Marquez Callaway, both as a special teamer, and I guess you're in the unique position also to speak on him as a wide receiver from the quarterback perspective.
Yeah, I think he obviously had a really good camp, came in and made the roster. I think he was a kid that he has, the raw talent. He's fast. He's got good hands. Everything that you'd want to see from a receiver. But I felt like he had this really competitive nature about himself, which at the end of the day, when you're playing special teams, it's all about competing and winning your matchups, and that's what he was doing.
Amos?
Yeah, with your unique role on this team, I'm curious, has your mentality or the way you prepare mentally for going into a game changed since you've been here?
I think my role has evolved so much since the time I first got here and until the point that I'm at now. So, training camp, I was in this whole mindset that, man, I have the opportunity to really work on myself as a quarterback and being as good as I possibly can, and I still have that mindset week to week, but I'm going to be asked to do different things different weeks. So I do have this mental shift because the reality is so much of the quarterback position is played mentally. Well, now I'm stepping into a role where there's a pretty physical aspect to what I'm going to be asked to do. So that preparation has certainly been different.
Nick?
Yeah, speaking of roles, you added another one, being a father. Just what's that been like, juggling football with father and probably not sleeping a whole lot?
I've got to be honest. I'm still getting plenty of sleep, which means my wife is not. But honestly, it's been some of the best few weeks of my life. My wife and I feel so blessed to have the opportunity to welcome this little guy into our family, and we feel, like I said, very, very blessed. It's been a very special time for my wife and I to do this, and we've had help. Her mother was here, my mother's here now, and so I'm still making sure that I'm staying up to speed on everything I have to do, Saints-wise, but it certainly added a different element of having the opportunity to go home following a day and to see this little guy.
Fletcher?
Earlier this week, Taysom, Drew told us that, I think he said, quote, "I've got nothing to lose. I'm on borrowed time. I'm just going to let it fly." You spend probably as much, if not more, time with him than anybody. Is he the same, or is there something different that maybe you've picked up on that got nothing to lose and he's going to let it fly maybe in a different way this year?
It's a good question. I would say Drew is the same guy every day that I've seen in the 4 years that I've been here. I think Drew has this thing about him where you could look at him at any point in the game and you wouldn't know if he's up by 10 or if he's down by 10, if they're getting ready to have a 2-minute drive to win the football game. He is the same guy. So, maybe I think his mindset is a little bit different, knowing that he's got nothing to lose. We're obviously have a mindset and goal to go out and win every single game that we play, and there's no secret that we feel like we have the talent to return to the playoffs and make a playoff run and go deep. So, but to answer your question, Drew's mindset has been so good for so long that he's still the same guy. He still prepares the exact same way, and he's still Drew. And there's really been no one else that's done it like him.
Nick?
Speaking of that mindset, Jared Cook was just saying that he's very patient in the pursuit of perfectionism. Just when he's bringing guys in and when there's mistakes, like he doesn't, berate them or make them feel bad about it. And that's different from some other quarterbacks. Do you see that too? Just kind of observing it when new guys come in.
Yeah, I think Drew has this really special skill set and uniqueness about him that nobody works harder than Drew. So when you come in the morning, the first person you see is Drew, and he's watching film. And as we've talked about, he's been such a great mentor to me that I've had the opportunity to adopt his schedule and learn from him, that I think Drew doesn't have to say anything, because the reality is Drew always knows his stuff because he works so hard. He's first one in and he's the last one to leave in the morning. So I think the great thing about that is Drew never has to say anything. There's an expectation that when you're playing for the New Orleans Saints, or if you step on the field and Drew's your quarterback and he's expecting you to be there, like you better be there. And because he puts in all the time, the energy to make sure he's doing everything he can for us to be successful, the expectation's there. So I don't think he needs to say anything. And people kind of put that pressure on themselves, which it's this unique thing that allows Drew to make everyone around him better, if that makes sense.
So it's kind of like a I'm not mad, I'm disappointed type deal when we do something.
Well, I don't know. Drew's such a nice guy that he's never going to get mad at anyone. But I think everybody works hard, and I think here that if you're doing something and you make a mistake and you're going full speed and you're doing everything you can, like, no one's upset about that. But what Drew will do is he will slow things down, and he'll teach it and coach it to the point where it's exactly where he needs it to be. But to your point, everyone puts that pressure on themselves to be, essentially perfect. And Coach says it all the time. We're not playing a perfect game. But he has this really this subtlety about it that is pretty unique.
Fletcher?
I have just one more question here, and it's a little bit not football related, so bear with me. They have a hang time of like a minute. Obviously, you were such a kind of phenomenon, and people kind of became this, almost infatuated with what you did and how you did it. But in New Orleans, a lot of celebrities come here and say they kind of feel a sense of normalcy. Do people treat you and your wife normal again, or are they still kind of like the shiny new toy running up to you, Taysom, or do you feel maybe more like a New Orleanian, like it's just kind of, it's normal now and I'm settling in and people are settling with who and what I am?
Are you talking about generally in the public?
Yes.
Yeah, public. Yeah, look, I feel like it's no secret. My wife and I and our families felt a lot of love from this community. But I've never felt like anything is like, people have always been very respectful of my wife and I, but they certainly will say hi, and I love it when people come and say hi and very complimentary. So I would say that has not gone away, which, man, that is one of the great things about the city and playing for the New Orleans Saints is you have the opportunity to be part of such a unique fan base that is loyal, that loves you, that supports you, and that hasn't changed.